When I was growing up, I used to play a game called NBA Jams. Do y'all remember that game? Oh, it was so cool. I mean, the players' heads were like ginormous, I think, and like fire would come off of your shoes when you went to dunk the ball. But you know the thing I remember the most about that game? The thing I remember the most about that game was whenever you would go to shoot the ball and the player on the other team would knock it down, the commentator would say, "Rejected." Do you remember that? Oh my gosh, it was so frustrating because it felt like every single time I took a shot, it would be yelling at me, "Rejected." Now, I was already bad enough at real basketball. I didn't at least wanted to be good at like a video game basketball. I mean, that's not too much to ask. Anyway, you're probably asking like, why in the world does this matter? Like, what's this got to do with life? What's it got to do with anything? Nothing. I just wanted to talk about NBA Jams. I lie. No, my point is that I think that in life, we can feel that same way. It feels like every time we go to take a shot or we went to take a shot, we were rejected. That something just knocked it down. And over time, we become conditioned by that. And it's almost like we're afraid to move forward. We're afraid to take those shots that we need to take. And I'm not just talking about basketball. I'm talking about life. I'm talking about you asked that girl out and she said no, you felt rejected, right? Or you're struggling with a situation, so you go talk to your dad and your dad basically criticizes you and you feel rejected. Or maybe you just wanted your husband to tell you that you were pretty today, but he didn't say it. Doesn't mean he doesn't think it, but you still felt rejected. Am I right? And that's the thing. The more and more we feel rejected, the more and more we deal with this thing called rejection, the more we feel like there's no point in trying. That it's just kind of pointless for us to put ourselves out there, and so we let fear rule us. We don't want to be seen as broken, as if something's wrong with us, or that we're not good enough and we're not lovable, right? Those are all things that can kind of make us struggle in the midst of all this. So we oftentimes stop and say, well, okay, what do I do about that? That's just life, and it is life. It can sometimes feel like God doesn't understand, but he does. Because Jesus stepped down from heaven, this beautiful, perfect place, steps down to earth and is rejected by the very people he came to save. He's in his hometown and he's rejected by the people he grew up around. And they're like, he's just a carpenter's son. Like, what's he got to offer? He's not the Messiah. What about the people that he thought loved him? Judas, Peter, all these people rejected him. They ran away when he was arrested. Jesus can understand and relate to our rejection because he himself was rejected. John 1 talks about him being rejected. He came to what was his own, but his own didn't receive him. I mean, that's pretty dark stuff, right? And so the more and more that we've been rejected, the more and more it can feel like no one understands. But the thing is that Jesus understands. Here's a really, really hard truth I want you to hear. And it's something that I desperately have to remind myself of constantly. If you are seeking the approval of man and you're seeking the approval of this world, it is a false drug that will never satisfy, it will never fix your pain, and you're always going to be left alone because you're looking for acceptance in the wrong place. The world's full of sin. There's broken and hurting people who are going to constantly let you down. I'm telling you though, Jesus understands us. Jesus has been there. Jesus has been rejected. And so you don't have to worry about being alone in that because he's right there with you. And that leads us to the next thing. What do we do? Well, you don't give up. It's easy to give up. It's easy to feel conditioned by things of this world, but you don't give up on the fact that Jesus is with you, he's for you, he's not giving up on you. And so you don't want to give up on yourself. Psalm 118, David talks about it. He says, I'll trust the Lord I'll trust the Lord because He's with me. So you may feel like you're all alone. You may feel like you can't keep going. But that's a lie from the enemy, friends. And the thing is that is what he wants you to believe. And he wants you to stop. He wants you to quit trying. God does not. Because when our God is for us, tell me, who can be against us? Basketball. Kobe.